And I want to share that with you guys because our next speaker this morning has a much deeper relationship with the Grand Canyon than we do. She's actually been in it, and she is the youngest person to ever kayak the Grand Canyon, the entire Grand Canyon, at the age of 12 years old. Her family is amazing. They're called Famagogo. So please give a warm welcome to our first main stage speaker of the day, Abby Holcombe.
Hello, I am Abby Holcombe. I am 13 years old now, and I love kayaking. I've been kayaking basically once I learned how to walk, and I've been kayaking my whole life. And I've always heard about the Grand Canyon. I grew up learning about it. I heard it was huge white water, lava falls, big waves, hard rapids. And I was like, wow, that'd be really cool one day to go down the Grand Canyon, but maybe one day I'll be good enough. And so I had this in the back of my head. And my dad had done one other Grand Canyon trip before. And my parents, you have to apply for a permit because only 5,000 private boaters get to go down the Grand Canyon each year. And so they'd apply, and over my whole life, basically, they'd always been talking about applying for a permit. And we finally got one. They won one. And I'd heard all this stuff about the Grand Canyon. And I wasn't really sure if it was a trip for me. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go or not. And so I was thinking, it's big whitewater. I didn't really know. It was unknown. And so we were training for this big trip. And we went down the main salmon in Idaho. It's a really fun river with huge whitewater. And my dad was kind of joking with me. He's like, oh, it'd be so cool if you kayak the whole main salmon river. And I'm like, that is the best idea ever. We should kayak the whole main salmon. And so we paddled, and there's some really big whitewater on the main salmon. And finally, I completed it, and it was really awesome. And I started thinking about it. I was like, well, I just did the main salmon. We have this Grand Canyon trip coming up. What's 100 miles versus 280 miles of the Grand Canyon? So I'm thinking, and I'm like, maybe I want to kayak the whole entire Grand Canyon. So after that, I was all on board for coming into the Grand Canyon and completing the whole thing. And that was my goal. And something that I was a little unsure about and a little hesitant is I brought my playboat, which is a 5-foot-long kayak, and it is a little less stable and it's a little shorter than other kayaks. And I wasn't sure if it would be a good idea bringing a less stable kayak in this huge whitewater, but it's the boat that I've grown up paddling and I knew I'd be the most comfortable in, so that's the boat I brought. So we eventually set off. It took almost a whole year of planning for this trip. And we were so excited when we got in. And there's a couple people that we brought along with us. I wasn't alone for this 25-day trip. And I had my mom, who was in the red boat, my dad, who was in the middle, Peter and Kathy. And then we brought along our really good friend, Izzy. She was just super amazing. We'd been planning to go on a Grand Canyon trip with her forever. So when we finally got the permit, she was the first person we invited. We were super excited to have her on the trip. It was her 5th Grand Canyon trip, so she knew all about the logistics and helped us plan and put together our trip so much. This is Izzy's uncle, Uncle Ron. He was super amazing to have on our trip. He is a scoutmaster, and so he had all these really cool tips about the desert. So he taught me how to catch frogs and lizards, and he taught us how to make a fire with a bow drill, and he could make these really cool, intricate necklaces. And lastly, we have Doug. Doug is from Idaho. He has done so many classic rivers, and it was just really interesting talking to him about running all these really cool and amazing, famous rivers. And he also would play the guitar every single night and every single morning, which was such a cool way to wake up and go to sleep. And they both rode the raft, and so we have rafts with us. They carried all of our supplies. So we had our food, our sleeping, camping equipment, anything we could possibly need for the next 25 days in the canyon. So we set off on this big trip, and I was so excited. And at the top, I was like, oh, the waves can't be that bad. Like, they're not going to be huge or anything. And we got in, and the Grand Canyon is rated on a special scale. So all the rivers around here, and basically around the world, are rated 1 through 6. 1 being flat water, 6 being unrunnable, like Niagara Falls. And the Grand Canyon is so big that they have its own scale. So it's rated 1 through 10. So that's much bigger. And I wasn't, or the rapids were way bigger than I expected. And kayakers give the rapids names so everyone knows what rapid we're talking about. The hardest rapid's name is Lava Falls. It's a class 9. It's a really big rapid. And when we got in the canyon, I was unsure about, we got in the canyon and the whitewater's huge, and so we go through this huge wave train, and I'd just be looking at the waves, and they'd be ginormous. And I paddle through it, and I'd be like, hey, Izzy, what was that rated? And she'd be like, haha, that wasn't rated anything. That's not named. That doesn't have a rating. And I'd be like, what? So here's kind of a feel for what the rapids are like. And this is a no-name rapid. So we've been preparing for this trip for a year almost. And every 5 seconds, it felt like, maybe it was even more, I would be like, whoa, we're in the Grand Canyon. Whoa, we're in the Grand Canyon. This is so cool. And they're like, yeah, Abby, we're in the Grand Canyon. Like, but we're in the Grand Canyon. So this is Nankoweap. This is a granary where the Native Americans used to store their grains in the winter. And it was really cool walking on a trail that people have been walking for thousands upon thousands of years. Nankoweap was also the first time we really got up in the canyon, and being in the Grand Canyon was the first time I've ever seen the Grand Canyon. And it was really cool seeing it from the bottom. And you'd think from the bottom it would be the biggest, and it is, it's really big. But whenever you walk for almost an hour and you're nowhere near the rim, it really puts it in perspective of how big the canyon actually is. So our rafts are 18 feet long and over 2,000 pounds. They're really big and really heavy. This is Izzy rowing her raft through one of the really big rapids. So I'm starting to notice this pattern in the canyon. All the rapids have either a wave, a really big wave, or a really big hole, or something I don't want to be anywhere near. And there's an easy path around it, and I can go around it, and there's smaller waves, and there's smaller features. So I'm noticing this pattern, and I love this pattern. This is a great pattern. And so the best example of that is Upset Rapid. And here's the difference between the hard line, where my dad goes through a big hole, and he's in the orange boat, and the difference between my line and the pink boat, which is the easier, calmer line. So this pattern is going on through the whole river, and we're almost to mile 100, and I'm noticing this pattern. I love this pattern, and we're starting to get into the Class 8s. So we've done Hance, which is a really big Class 8 rapid, but just like all the other rapids, I could go to the left of it and avoid all the big waves. Then we had Horn. I could go straight down the middle and avoid all the waves. That was also Class 8. And then we come to Granite. And sadly, that pattern did not continue at Granite. And I was talking to Dad and Izzy, who'd done a trip before, and I was like, will that pattern continue at Granite? Like, will there be a sneak line? And they're like, yeah, sure, totally. And I'm like, okay, awesome. I was so nervous to notice, to not even notice it. And so I got there, and I looked at Granite. That pattern did not continue. And it was just huge. There's just whitewater and chaos everywhere. And my biggest regret of our whole trip is not bringing a journal. And so as soon as I got back to pen and paper, I wrote this, which I'd like to share. Granite Rapid, mind-boggling, chaos-filled confusion with a combat roll. I sit at the top of Granite Rapid crying, my thoughts as turbulent as the river in front of me. I think I have this one life and only a few more months of being 12 with no control over the future. Not everyone gets to sit where I'm sitting, and few get to cry for the reason of which I'm crying. This could be my one shot to kayak the Colorado River that twists and turns through the Grand Canyon. This is the trip of a lifetime, and one I may never get to do again. I see something in front of me that is unknown, a monstrous rapid with huge man-eating holes on one side, massive lateral waves on the other, and a terrifying wave hole that is likely to flip me at the bottom. Confusion overwhelms me. I'm uncertain how my small boat will react to the colossal whitewater before me. I could avoid the entire thing by carrying my boat along the shore. But why walk now when you're not even at the hardest rapid? Why not challenge yourself and thrive? I want to challenge myself. I don't want to just be the cute little kid in the pink boat that shows up at events and hangs out and then goes home. I want to be more than that. I know I can be more than that. These thoughts continue to swirl through my head. I can see myself walking my boat to the bottom of the rapid and paddling into the calm water of the eddy below, crying, being mad at myself. And then there's a second thought. I imagine myself at the bottom having just completed a beautiful line through Granite, crying tears of joy and relief and how much better that would feel. So I get in my kayak and paddle down to the lip of the rapid and prepare for the monster that awaits. I drop into chaos and regret fills me immediately as I flip upside down. I wait for the rapid to release my paddle and allow me to roll. Before I know it, I'm upright and continuing down the rapid. I feel a wave pushes and pushes at me. I feel as though the river is mad at me, pulling, grabbing, and finally flipping my kayak again. I try to roll back upright as the river's big fist punches the bottom of my kayak, holding me under. I feel every little bit of oxygen slipping away into somewhere unknown. I have one last bit of breath left as I try to hit my roll one last time. As I resurface and get that first big breath, all of that regret is gone. I feel proud, powerful, and most of all inspired. Thank you. So Granite was this big turning point for me. I struggled, and I didn't do the line I wanted to do, and I was upside down, and that was the worst thing that I could possibly imagine happening. And I did it, and I was okay. And I was smiling at the bottom, and I gained all this confidence because I knew I could flip my kayak back upright, and I knew I could do it in huge whitewater. So I'm gaining all this confidence, and that day our plan was to do Hermit Rapid, which is a Class 8, Granite, and Horn. And we still had Hermit left, and our plan was to camp at the top of Hermit. And I knew if I sat in my tent all night long listening to the churning of this rapid, there's no chance of me running it in the morning. So after all this soul searching I had to do to get up the courage to run this rapid, we paddled as fast as we could. I jumped down, I scouted the rapid real quick, and I was like, okay, it's good to go, let's go. And so we went, and whenever I was going through it, it's the biggest waves I've ever paddled through. I thought like the little ripples were big. No, they're not big. The Hermit Rapid is huge. And I remember just dropping into it, and it was just like a mountain of water above me. It's ginormous. So here's a little video of me running through the biggest waves of my life.
Wow. 12 years old. Wow.
Thank you. So my dad had done this trip before, and I always saw this picture, and it's a classic picture, of people jumping off a waterfall. And I was like, I want to go there. That's going to be awesome. And so when we got our permit, I was like, yes, I'm going to Elves Chasm. And when we got there, I was so excited to jump. I was swimming around in the pool, and it came time for me to jump off. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. 1, 2, 3. I'm a little bit scared of heights. And so it took a little bit of consideration, and then finally I jumped off, and it was super fun, and I did it a couple times. And then we got to Havasu, and maybe one of these days I will stop listening to my dad's jokes. But while we were going through the canyon, he goes, oh, Abby, it'd be so cool if we ran through Havasu Creek, which is a side creek that flows into the main Colorado River. And I was like, haha, that'd be so funny. And when we got there, it was actually runnable. So we hiked our kayaks up, and we got in, and we started running through Havasu Creek. And here's a little video of what it was like running through Havasu Creek. And the Colorado River is really muddy. I'm not sure if you could tell in the Granite picture, but it is really muddy. and full of sediment. So all the fish migrate into the side streams since it's not as silty and stuff. So every paddle stroke you take, it'd scare like 10 fish each direction. It was so cool looking at these big fish underneath your kayak. It was just amazing. And after Granite, I have so much confidence. I am paddling all the hard lines. I'm going through the big waves. I'm going through the big features. I'm flipping. I'm rolling. I'm just having the time of my life. And I'm not as anxious anymore like I was in the beginning of the trip. And so, and as you get further and further in the canyon, the walls get deeper and deeper, and the rapids get bigger and bigger. So I'm starting to progress and feel comfortable while the rapids are getting bigger and bigger as we prepare for lava. And this is a rapid that we almost flipped one of our rafts in, but it's a really big rapid, and I'll give you a perspective of what it feels like now in the canyon. Big wave. There was just white water everywhere, and it was chaos. And I wasn't really sure what to do. I was just so confused. So here's kind of what my thoughts were going into lava and at the top of lava. Okay, so we're at the top of lava. I really want to run it. I want to run the whole canyon. But it's really big. So big it's making me nauseous. I can't even sit there anymore. But I really want to run it. Not lava, but the canyon. I want to finish the whole thing. And I feel like if I don't run it, it'll be like unfinished business. And I don't know. I'm not sure I'll be able to get on a trip right away after this. I don't want to get so freaked out that I just freeze. Don't do a good line because that would be bad, but I don't know. I keep on thinking of Granite and how bad I would have felt had I not run it since I was so capable. I can't imagine walking this. I definitely am not riding the raft. I've been looking at it for maybe 30 minutes to an hour. It keeps on getting better and better. It looks better and better anyways. Maybe I'm just adjusting to the huge size, but we're walking down to go run it right now. I think we'll be fine.
Abby, you ready?
Yep, ready as I'll ever be. Here we go. I can do this. Okay, lava, here we are. not the easiest rapid on the river, but it was really, I was super excited. And my team was just so amazing. I said in the video that we were scouting it for 30 minutes to an hour. Time flies by when you're scared to death. For my team, the rafters and everything, they're scared of this rapid too. It's a big rapid, and so they had to sit at the top of the rapid staring at it for 3 hours while I decided whether or not I wanted to run it. So I can't say thank you enough to my team and to my parents and to the rafts and everything for sitting at the top of lava with me for 3 hours. So right below lava, there's this beach. It's called Tequila Beach. And you can walk up the beach and there's this boatman's register. And it's where everyone who's run through lava signs this register. And it's really cool to add my name in the register. But it was also really cool to read through everyone else's stories through their trips. And it's almost maybe over 10 years of Grand Canyon history of people who'd signed their names. And it was really cool reading back through everyone else's trips. And there's also really cool trinkets in there. There's really cool paintings that people have done of the Grand Canyon and postcards and just really cool stuff. So you start off on the Grand Canyon and it's kind of flat. And then the walls build and build and build. And once you pass lava, it kind of declines. And so does the whitewater. The whitewater kind of starts to end and it starts to become flat water. And then you have 90 miles of flat water to go to the takeout. So in the last rapid, we found this beauty of a surf wave. I love surfing. It's my favorite thing to do while we kayak. And it was just a really cool way to end our trip on this beautiful wave. And we had paddled and we paddled and we paddled. And we had 30 miles left and 2 days until the shuttle came to pick us up. And so we were like, okay, we're going to do 15 miles one day, 15 miles the next. And this stretch is notorious for being windy. So we had the Garmin inReach device, which is a satellite device used to send text messages. And we texted my grandma like, hey, how's the weather forecast for the next 2 days? Will we be able to paddle out? She's like, hey, bad news, guys. You're going to have really bad winds. And when I say really bad, that means the first day we're going to have 20-mile-per-hour winds with 30-mile-per-hour gusts. And the next day, they're supposed to do another 15 miles. It was going to be 50-mile-per-hour winds with 75-mile-per-hour gusts. Not very fun, especially with the big 2,000-pound rafts. They take a lot of effort and force to get those things moving, especially with 70-mile-per-hour winds. We thought they'd be going back upstream, which wouldn't work very well. So we got the whole group together and we talked and we're like, okay, what are our options? And basically we decided that we had to try and paddle as far as we can that day with the 20-mile-per-hour winds, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to paddle out the last day. So we paddled and we paddled and we paddled and we paddled. And the rapids were hard, but if you think about it, it's 10 seconds. You're through the rapid in 10 seconds. You might be upside down, you might be right side up, but it's 10 seconds. Flat water is forever. It takes forever. And so we'd sing songs, play silly games, anything to pass the time. And there's a couple times where I'm like, that's it, my shoulders are burning, I'm getting in the raft, I'm not paddling any more flat water. So I'd paddle up to the raft, and then I'd be like, wait a second. I ran granite and lava. No way am I getting in a raft in flat water. And finally we got there, and I think one of Izzy's favorite quotes from the whole trip is, I tapped my paddle on the shore and I said, did it, and then I fell over. And it took all my strength to hold my arms up for a thumbs up, but I was super excited to finally completed this thing that I've been anticipating for the last year and nervous about, and I finally finished it. And every night my dad and I would go off and do an interview. And so that's really cool to look back to now, but the last interview I would like to share with you.
You have to say.
I'm sad to leave. I feel like we've been here for a month, and it doesn't even feel like a month. It feels like we've been here for a year. It feels like we've been here forever. And it's sad to think that, today was the last day I set up my tent, and it's the last day we cook on the little stove, and last day I'll make pancakes in the Grand Canyon. But it's sad to think about that, but I'm trying to think of other happy things that I'm getting to do, like take a shower and do laundry, look in the mirror, brush my hair. I think that I can do anything. My parents always say that, and I always hear it, and you can do anything. And I always say it to people when we do our presentations, but on this trip it's really sunk in, like I can do anything, and As long as I set my mind to it and really work hard, I can do anything.
So I've come to this conclusion. The Grand Canyon is my happy place. It is where I am my best self. I am challenging myself both on and off the water. I am sandy and I am smelly. And most importantly, I learned that I can do anything. So I challenge all of you guys to go out there, and maybe it's running lava falls or meeting a new business goal, but you guys can do anything and go out there and conquer your dreams. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abby. I don't know about y'all. I laughed. I cried. It's a little bit of everything.